An NCAA Division II conference is requiring that all student athletes provide proof of vaccination before being allowed to play on their teams. The commissioner of the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, made up of 15 historically black colleges and universities, said the decision was made because, quote, student athletes are a particularly vulnerable stakeholder group who, as a result of their athletic participation, are required to travel off campus and compete against and interact with student athletes on other campuses. These athletic-related activities not only increase the risk of exposure to our student athletes, but also increase the risk of exposure to their classmates and other campus stakeholders once those athletes return to campus. Joining me now is the commissioner of the SIAC, Greg Moore. Greg, it's good to see you, sir. Your conference is made up of colleges and states that are really seeing a serious uptick of COVID cases and hospitalizations, particularly among the unvaccinated population. So do you think, is your decision a reflection of the fact that you think it's irresponsible not to require a vaccine mandate at this point for students?
Well, for us, and thank you for having me, for our league, it was really about risk mitigation. I mean, to your point, we're looking at this Delta variant in a very real sense as being a pandemic of the unvaccinated. You're looking at 80% of the new cases are Delta variant manifestations, and 97% of the people who have contracted that, between 95 and 99% actually, are unvaccinated individuals.
That's right.
So when you look at our college campuses, most of the most at-risk cohort of students are going to be student athletes who travel and get on buses, stay in hotels, eat in restaurants, and to your earlier point, they're traveling throughout a region of the country because our league consists of 15 historically black colleges and universities located throughout the Southeast. They're traveling in a region of the country that has the highest percentage of unvaccinated individuals. So it's really about risk mitigation and trying to protect these student athletes.
For sure. I wonder, given that, I wonder what the pushback or reaction you've received from the student athletes or their parents, given that your conference does include Tuskegee University.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, let's be honest. Look, I understand there is a hesitancy and a culture of reluctance with respect to the African American community, and in a large measure, that is the byproduct of incidents like the Tuskegee experiments. But let's be clear what Tuskegee experiments were. That was medical abuse camouflaged as research. A vaccine is trying to protect people.
Moore's audio, unfortunately. But I think that the point he is making is very important. Also, that the Tuskegee experiments were about denial of vaccinations.
Actually, I can still hear him.
You can?
I can still hear him. So I think that actually.
Then I'm going to hand it over to you.
Can you hear me?
All right, Greg, can you continue?
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear. You mentioned the Tuskegee experiments, but and as you know, Tuskegee is one of the universities, one of the schools in our league. Tuskegee experiments was medical abuse camouflaged as medical research. The vaccine is the opposite of that. The vaccine is trying to help people and protect people from mitigate the risk of getting sick, mitigate the risk of infection, mitigate the risk of hospitalization, and mitigate the risk of death. And one thing is important to realize, our league is comprised of historically black colleges and universities. You're not going to find a cohort of presidents who care more deeply about the health and safety of their students and student athletes than our presidents. One of the hallmarks of historically black colleges and universities is the personal and intimate relationships that the presidents have with their students. So the notion that any one of our presidents would do anything that would undermine the health and safety of students is contrary to the reason why our school even exists.
Yeah, and Greg, we certainly hope that that is heard loud and clear. You are a very good messenger of this, and we certainly appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you guys for having me.